So what we have here is a sawbone setup of the TPLO procedure. I planned the procedure on VPOP with our sawbone, and we have a TPA of 30, D1, D2, D3 measurements. We're going to use a 21 blade with 10 millimeter rotation to give us a post-op TPA of 2. We are going to use the Dr. Mark.vet guide that's 21 millimeters and show you how to use that on this sawbone here. So one of the benefits of using the Dr. Mark.vet osteotomy guide is that you can utilize your D marks. And what I have here is D1, 2, and 3 already marked on this tibia. And what I'm going to do is you actually want to know where your groove is. So this actually needs to be used this way. But you can go in and you can place the guide where the marks line up. And that's where you're going to make your cut. Okay, so now it's time to place the osteotomy guide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the D marks. I'm going to place this where it should be, and just note where the notch is, because we're going to use that as a mark for our rotation. And so that looks really good right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and place a pin, and you have several holes to choose from. I will start with that one, and it can go down. You still have the marks there. So now I'm going to come up here and place it where I want it here. And I'm actually going to come back here, place it back here. I like it right there. And now what I like to do is I like to bend these over. So push the guide up against the bone, bend them over, and then I trim them. I like these type pliers, but you can use any kind of K-wire pliers, and just cut these pins to a length that suits. Okay. And now that osteotomy guide is fastened to the tibia. So I have affixed the TPLO osteotomy guide to the tibia utilizing the D marks, and personal preference is where I think it fits the best. I used 062 K-wires, and I strategically placed with the pinholes that I desired. And a good thing about doing this is then you can also check to make sure that your plate still will fit before you even make your first cut. And so that's one of the big things I like about the use of the guide. And notice that we have the notch placement for rotation. All right, so now it's time to etch our mark in the bone so we know where to rotate. So on the long bone aspect, we have our notch that's on the TPLO osteotomy guide. We are going to rotate, in this case, according to VPOP, we're going to rotate 10 millimeters. So we're going to come in here and we're going to place this at the notch. And then with our osteotome, we're going to place the osteotome onto the bone and tap that and make our mark. And we'll rotate from here to here. Now, I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I want to introduce just a new way of doing this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep our 10. I'm going to put my caliper in the osteotomy guide groove. And before I even make my initial cut, I'm going to come in with another IM pin, an 062 pin, and I'm going to come up about 1 millimeter above the site. And I'm going to actually drive this pin 1 millimeter in right at the site of where I want it to be. And then I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to cut the wire a little bit shorter. And I've left it 1 to 2 millimeters off of the guide. And what that does is that allows me to place my blade with the pin there. And we're going to rotate this pin now to that notch. It's far more visible, and I believe it's going to give us a better effect, and it's going to be a lot easier in the surgery. Okay, so we're ready to make our osteotomy. There has been no osteotomy here, and we have a pin placed at our point of rotation that's going to rotate to our groove. It's 1 to 2 millimeters off of the guide. And so you can appreciate that I can go ahead and make my cut here. So I have it up against the guide, my blade, and I'm going to start the cut. So we've made our cut. You can appreciate that there. Our pin is sitting there waiting to be rotated to that mark. Okay, so I have my stay pin that's going to hold once I rotate. I have my rotational pin. I have my reference pin. I have the notch. The guide is still on. And I just want to show you that you can appreciate that the pins are not in the osteotomy, and also here that it still actually worked really well with that. So putting that back where it goes. So we will rotate this to the mark here and stop it right there. I'm just going to hold it like this for purposes of the demonstration. And we're going to come in and we're going to drive the pin in, and we have our rotation. So now that we have our rotation, we can go ahead and pull all of our pins. So our rotational pin can come out. Now remember, this is a demonstration on a sawbone. We have our reference pin that can come out. And then we have our guide pins that can come out. And there you go. Now you would place your plate here and complete your TPLO.